Yeah. Welcome. This is Thursday evening, first Thursday of the month, right? Workshop, advanced workshop, right? With advanced. Tonight we're going to go into some uh, experiments that I call Zen bondage. It has to do with how you can augment, supplement your practice by thinking clearly about the equipment, the gear involved, the way you support your Zazen practice. Most of us, I think, take a rather Puritanistic view, maybe, of the right way to do it. Just do what Buddha did, do what Dogen did, and so forth. But I think we have to be creative. We have to be innovative. We're called upon to approach this with an open mind and, in a sense, transcend what we may think of as the right way to do things. Not that we are anti-orthodox. It's not like that. It's just that what Buddha did, for instance, we have these wonderful zafus. This is one that's packed with husks, barley husks, I think. I'm not sure what the husk, but I think the barley husk. It's very flexible and adapts to your body, but it's also very heavy. We did one Shurigama retreat where we focused on the different senses, and then we focused on the tactile senses by putting this on our head. We sat with one of these on our head. It's only less than 10 pounds, but that little bit of difference makes a huge difference. So you might want to experiment with that sometime. Try. The other kind we have is filled with kapok, and it's kind of hard and dense. Kapok is a little cotton-like fiber, but it's much more resistant. It doesn't break down so much. And over time, the cushion sort of flattens out a little bit, and we have to round them. So the gear, somebody said if you want to sell American Zen, sell the gear. They'll buy the gear. They buy the stuff and they'll hopefully do the practice. So, for instance, in my approach to the aging, I have to adapt the way I sit. I can no longer, I probably could, but it's not really worth the trouble to sit full lotus where I cross both legs to the top, where this strains the tendons and ligament system, that hard tissue that the muscle joins the joints. And at my age, you can strain a tendon like an Achilles tendon, not even know it until the next day. Then the next day you're limping around because you pulled that tendon. So this is a Zabuton. Zafu is a Za means sit, Fu means cushion, like futon, cushion. This is a Zafuton, meaning it's a cushion for sitting. It's the underlying cushion that underlies the zafu. But this one, for some reason, this turned up here in the Zendo. So I don't know what it's filled with. It feels like one of those weighted blankets. Feel that. It's strange.
Yeah. What you mean?
Typically they're cotton batting. So what I do is I use this one to kind of create a tier effect. So I will hold this under, take a little bit of slope like that. I'll put the other zafu on top. It creates kind of a sloping tier, 1, 2, 3 level, as if you're sitting in the sand at the beach and the sand is supporting your legs. So this is one of the approaches I take to improvising or experimenting over time with the gear, with the structure, material with which you support your meditation. Now in Japan, first time I went to Japan was 1989. And a gentleman, Oliver Brookston, and I, he's a psychiatrist. We taught there for some 5 years before, taught psychology, Kochi, which is the southern island, Japan. And we went there and attended the Shikoku Dojo, which is Rinzai Center in the southern island of Japan. And so he knew the ropes, knew how to travel, and all that, and it made it easy for me to go with him. So we go sit with them, and they don't speak English, but we don't speak Japanese. We had a friend of his who was an expatriate in the Vietnam War, who was very erudite in both Japanese and English, and had was there as our translator, he interpreted for us. So we start sitting. We have no idea how long it's going to be, and we've been sitting on the floor. If you go to anybody going to Japan, if you go to Japan and you stay in, we stay in Seifuso, which means businessman's hotel, and so there's no furniture in the room. There's a table, and there's a closet, and in the closet there are futons, larger cushion, not much larger than these, but pull out and make your bed at night, sleep on the tummy mats. You put those away, and you sit around the table in the day. And you go to a restaurant, you're sitting on the floor. So for about a week, you'll be sitting on the floor. By then, your knees are really crying out. You're having difficulty. And so I'm sitting there, and Oliver, against my wishes or without my consent, had told them I was his Roshi, right? So they're looking at me like, this is a Roshi from America. So I had to be sitting with these Japanese monks. They're all businessmen. The guy who picked us up and took us to the place owned a hardware store. And their leader was a psychiatrist who had just passed 140 koans with his teacher. So I'm sitting there and I've got like knives in both knees, right? Ice picks. And but I can't move because if I'm a Roshi from America and Matsuoka's my teacher, whatever I do could embarrass me or embarrass them, and so forth. So gritting my teeth and bearing it. And we like to think there's a turning point where that's all snaps. Well, it didn't happen that night for me. It took longer than that. So then we go to Eiheiji. Eiheiji is the big monastery founded by Dogen in Fukui, northern Japan. You go up way up north. And we go sit with them, and their zafus are like velvet. And they're so lightly stuffed that they're like a pancake. They're like 2 inches deep at the most. No way. Fortunately, we had brought our own zafus. Sat with our own zafus. So I'm encouraging you to be creative, be design-oriented, inventing the way you sit, propping up the way you sit, doing what you have to do to make it work for you. So I typically sit like this, and I have a cushion for my hands to rest on. This is kind of my current outfit, but it's changed over the years. I've done different things over time. You'll notice we have benches, Seiza benches, we have square cushions, we have booster cushions, we have Tibetan foam block. There's one of those in the house here. Different kinds of cushions, so you want to experiment and try different things until you get to find the ones most comfortable for you. And the posture you use, whether it's cross-legged like this, I'm sitting in roughly not half lotus, but like this is called Burmese, something like Burmese style, where both legs are crossed under, parallel to each other in front, or a Native American style, tucking your feet under, or like a tailor in Europe. The tailor used to sit so this way apparently. So that's this is called the foundation. The posture of the legs is called the foundation. And often if I begin experiencing a lot of stress or distress in my legs, I will simply scoot forward, or every period I tend to uncross them and cross them in the opposite direction. The posture is inherently asymmetrical. And so if you cross your legs one way in one session, the next 25-minute period cross them the other one, and you tend to balance out the stress. The leg that's up on top typically experiences more stress than the leg that's on bottom, especially in a half lotus or full lotus. I could still sit in a half lotus, but it's really not worth it. So those postures are not magical at all, but they're, as you're sitting, they're locked in place. They're more formal in the sense that they anchor you into a triangular position. Three-legged stool, right knee, left knee, your rear end, gives you that solid foundation of balance. Now, what I meant by bondage, a very simple idea. When you're sitting, you're putting your body in a position that in the West, at least, is not very familiar with. So it may not be very comfortable. A little bit of it, tucking this in this manner where it gives you a little bit of a sloped support can actually help. And that pull the legs up, come over the top of that part of the cushion, or cushion by it, is the middle of the cap bone. If you're sitting on half lotus, the cushioning that you have underneath can support you one or the other. And you may want to use the hand cushion instead of for your hands. You may want to tuck it under one side. You can feel the difference. This is asymmetrically much imbalanced, so that this helps keep it level for me, keep it feel more balanced. And the idea of bondage is pretty simple. It's as simple as something like, my legs are trying to separate. This leg is trying to slide off. Even if I sit in the up under position, as you're sitting, it's a little unnatural for us to sit this way. Again, it's asymmetrical. If you use a rope, and I'll show you something with a blanket you can do in the wintertime, helps you keep warm, but also helps reinforce your posture. If you do nothing more complicated, simply reinforce the legs by tying them together like so. This begins to relieve pressure on the legs. Now my legs can relax because you're not struggling to keep them from sliding apart. This is giving you just a tiny bit of support that makes it much, much more comfortable. Another one would be to go around the legs like so, over the top. Like so. It's a little bit loose, so I can raise my legs, stretch them apart a little bit more, and stretch against this. So now this is helping to brace back against the natural tendency of my legs to start sliding apart and so forth. So I'm going to pass these out to you, and you can try different things. Take one, pass down. Got my little Zen bondage back here. I'm not sure how much stuff is that in there. It's something you try at home as well. And I had a long one. I hope it's in here. Long OB means belt. Japanese. Let's see, you have it. Even if you have a belt like this is a belt which is woven so that it could fit any size waist. I mean, down to, could be a possum and wear this belt. Could be a mouse and wear this belt. So you could, something like this, you could simply thread under. You just want to do the, tie the legs together for comfort. Zen is, Zazen is said to be the comfortable way. Most of us understand that that's a relative term. There are points in your practice where it's not really very comfortable. Something like this gives you, again,
Is it okay to have a little support for your back?
no support for your back, and that's a very important point. I'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, maybe that's a no-no, right? To sit there on.
No, it's good. The idea is we want our spine to be like a cobra rising off the floor, S curve, right? Take your fist and push around in the back of your spine, the lower part of your spine, push forward and down, so that your pelvis is rotated forward and down. Easiest way to do this, just do the rocking motion as we do when we sit down, left and right, forward and back. When you go forward, just stay there for a moment, let your pelvis get in the right position. You feel the stretching of the lower back. Then instead of rolling back, pull back on your chin and arch the small of your back to come up. So you feel that strength in the lower back and strength in stretching the back of the neck. 2 pressure points, one here, one at the bottom of the back, one at the bottom of the neck. Stretching up here and pushing down in the base of the spine. As if you have 2 fists, one is stretching upward, the fist at the bottom is pushing down into the cushion, stretching your spine with strength, stretching your neck with strength. Those 2 pressure points. So one way of exaggerating that, do you know what a hakama is? Anybody? Hakama? Hakama is kind of like culottes. They're like skirt shorts. You have like 2 legs, but they're really big and bulbous and so forth. Culotte. Hakama is like that. It's like a big skirt, but it's two legs. It's separated in the middle. And has these long ties around it. It's used in the martial arts mainly. And the ties wrap around in a complicated way. And traditionally, even though you know how the Japanese are, the way you tie the hakama has changed over time in the martial arts. But it has this cardboard plate built into the back. The back piece comes sort of high like this, back, and the ties go around a tie tight there, so it's pushing that plate into your back. So you can emulate that by taking something like this hand cushion. Let's try that. You take this hand cushion, put it, tell me how the back of it looks. So what we'll do with this is, I'll put this here, bring the belt around. I'll pull it tight so that this is now pressing this into my back, my lower back. So when I sit, it's there as kind of a tactile reminder of the pressure plate pushing in. At home, you can do it with you have a long strip of cloth, you get a plastic bowl or plate from your pantry, put it there, push against that part of your back, and you feel it pushing forward and down. This is all leading to what is called Kekafusa, means cross-legged posture, lotus type posture, but also sitting mountain stability, where you feel a sense of profound stability. upright posture. Anybody want to try that? Please take a try.
Do you have any tips for ankle support? Ankle support. Do you have any tips for that? That's
But what do you mean by ankle support?
I think that's where I feel most of the pain. Just in general, just my ankles. I wasn't sure if there was any sort of
It's doing what?
that's where I get most of my pain, I think, from sitting is just in the ankles. I was just curious if you had.
And when you kneel, kneeling is more symmetrical because both legs are on the bench. But it puts a lot of stress on the ankles if you scoot forward and you're pressed against the cushion like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you scoot back and let your feet dangle off of the bench, puts less stress on the ankles, but you still have a lot of stress on the knees.
I see.
So you could try just putting the strap around your both ankles.
Okay.
Try it this way, and just pull it tight. And I think you may find
It's belt that helps for the ankles. So, so sometimes I get eczema on my legs. And
you
then
got what in your leg?
eczema from allergies.
Oh yeah.
And then I put cream on my legs.
Mm-hmm.
When I put cream on my legs, then they just slip out. And then it gets in a bad position for the ankles, and the ankles can hurt. But I think with this belt, it actually holds up. I'm not sure I'm using this belt accurately, but I can see that you can hold up your legs.
And you can experiment with different ways. Like you put the belt under, pull it over your thighs, and tie it together here.
Right. You did it.
A very long one. You can actually, this will be illustrated by the blanket a little bit. If you have a long one, you can have it come over your shoulders, under your arms, around your back, up around your knees, pull it tight here, and it's putting you in kind of a harness. Think about the body. The body is what Mr. Fuller would call a tensegrity system, meaning tension and compression. It has integrity, it's integrated. So your musculature, the flesh and muscles of your body are like a membrane system, like the canvas and ropes of a tent. The skeleton is like the poles and stakes of a tent, the compressional parts. So what we're approaching in our zazen meditation sitting is equilibrium, equipoise. We're not actually trying to relax, because for one set of muscles to relax on one side of the skeleton, the muscles on the other side have to take up the slack. So there's no relaxation in that sense. This posture is very rigorous in that we're making equal effort throughout the musculature. So it comes into balance, it comes to equipoise. The muscles that are on one side of the system are equally balanced with the muscles on the other side of the system. Your skeleton is the compressional members, musculature or the tension is the tensional membrane in which the skeleton is floating. So when you begin to see that, you begin to understand that you can actually feel this. You can actually actualize this. You can work on it, as Dogen says. Actualization is something that we can do. We can know that we are approaching this sort of state of equipoise or equilibrium. We can feel it. And physical samadhi, physical balance, physical centeredness is the first point in Zen practice, Zazen practice, followed by emotional samadhi, more equilibrium, or more less anxiety, more calmness, emotional samadhi. Mental samadhi, more clarity, less confusion, especially as to the teachings of Buddhism, what they're pointing at, because you're beginning to experience it directly. The physicality of this approach is something you don't want to forget. To remember, this is entirely physical. Because in Buddhism or Zen, there is no separation of the physical and the spiritual. So we approach this physically. This is Dogen's teaching. And finally, you could say social samadhi less friction, more harmony in relationships. Because you become calm, you become centered, you become comfortable in your own skin to a very deep level, you become much more patient and comfortable with other people. So eventually, social samadhi comes about, which is where everybody wants to start, of course. This is an OB. OB means belt, basically. And this is Velcro. There's a patch here and a patch here, so you can come around and attach. See how I can attach it? This is another type of piece of you can use. And I can't remember if this is long enough. I had a black one here that I was using to demonstrate. It disappeared. Did you do some of that, Daniel? But if you find something long enough, you can bring it under your knees like so, pull it up on your lap and hold it. So you kind of like the reins of a saddle, and you're riding a horse, right? It's like the reins you're holding. And so took this and see if you want to try that around your ankles. Now, there's a couple more. Those are all ties from karate. Okay. I'm not going to show you this. It's an all-weather device. And you could find, if you're like me, I wear a lot of Columbia pants and shorts, and they have these wonderful kind of snap-together belts, and you can adjust these infinitely. That type of thing can also use. And I just suggest that you try this at home. I don't hear the expression, don't try this at home. This is something you want to try at home. There's something as simple as this, where I'm simply tying around the two legs, pulling them together. That gives me enough support that somehow I don't have to pay attention to that anymore. It's not bothering me anymore. And now I can come into full compliance, you might say, with settling into the posture. Be creative, try different things. Don't tie yourself up to such an extent that somebody has to untie you. Because you might not have a friendly roommate, and they might not do it. Yeah. Something I want to introduce later in another class. When my mother was aging, we do walking meditation, right? You know what walking meditation is? Okay. You're pretty new. Walking meditation is a very slow walk that we do. And it's like Zazen. The posture is the same, only we're walking. And the idea is that you put your whole self into the walking, just as you put your whole self into the sitting. That's the attitude that we take. And the walking in the martial arts is considered the first kata, or form. They have all these complicated forms. But just simply intentionally walking, in the way we do in Kinhin walking meditation. Consider the first of all the katas, just intentionally walking, paying attention, walking. We walk very slowly. You raise your elbows for balance. We can do this a little bit later. Because you start losing your sense of balance. And it's like learning to walk all over again. Once we overcome gravity, 2 or 3 years old, we stop thinking about it. We stop reacting to it. It's subliminal. When you start doing Kinhin, our elbows are raised the same height as our arms, like outriggers for balance. If you're losing your balance, you're doing it correctly, because you're sort of returning to what it was like to learn to walk when you were a year old or whatever, however soon you started trying to walk around. And most of our practice is like that. Most of the Zen practice is like stopping all the BS, all the stuff that's going on in the world, and refuge, refugo, refugare means return to. It's not like hiding out in a cave. It's not like taking refuge by hiding out. It's more returning to the original nature, returning to Buddha nature. Refuge in Buddha means return to your original awakened nature. Refuge in Dharma means return to the original teaching, the original truth. And refuge in Sangha means return to the original community. So these refuges are not something woo-woo or holy-holy. They're more like getting back to basics. Well, all of our practice is like that. Zazen is like putting everything down, just sitting down, shut up, sit down, shut up. Somebody said, sit up and shut down. Right? We take a different approach to everything and let reality sort of come back to us again. That we settle into reality. It's really a regression, kind of regression back to the primordial state that you were when you were first born and when you first came into this existence, this lifetime. So kind of returning to that, see, re-experiencing what it is to exist. Very, very simple in concept, as we say in design, but difficult in execution. So when my mother was approaching, she was in her 80s, approaching her 90s, she was gaining weight. She wasn't exercising, but she always did. She did yoga and dance. She was a dancer. And we had pictures of her with these groups of people at the extended care facility doing yoga and exercises. So I would visit her in Illinois, and she was having difficulty. If she, I've fallen down and I can't get up. Everybody's seen the commercial, right? So I bought her a set of white knee pads and a set of white lacy, what do they got, handball gloves. And they have padding, play handball with them. So they look nice and feminine. And I would take my knee pads, I would go up and visit her and put knee pads on, and we would crawl around the apartment. Well, she had an apartment first and later. If you've ever gone through this with your parent, see what the extended care facility is. It's kind of returning to the crib gradually, right? You got out of the crib, you got on the floor, crawling around, you got walk before you run. So I say crawl before you walk. But she and I did that, and I would show her how to crawl to the couch and crawl up on the couch and be able to get up on the couch if she was on the floor. So one of these sessions, I'd like us to all have knee pads, and we'll crawl around the Zendo here. Trust me. That's for later. Nobody told you this was going to be sensible. So any questions so far? Comment?
So these belts, they are used in monasteries?
These belts?
Yeah.
They come from karate gi, white hipari, the jacket and pants, and used in fighting. And this is the belt that ties.
But there are meditators that use them?
No. This is all me.
Oh.
I made all this up. I don't think
I've read about, I forgot which famous monk, but at least one would have people tie him up.
Yeah.
And then come back and untie him later.
Yeah, I've heard that too. So it's an extremely exquisitely logical idea if you think about it. Let me show you the other one. So we talk about robes. We wear robes. All this fancy kind of what would you call it?
I think it makes the
Holy
posture
moly.
more sturdy.
Say it again.
I think that makes the posture more sturdy.
I think so too. Yeah, and I encourage you to go continue experimenting with it. But so we have some of these blankets, right? Someone still.
Yeah.
Take a blanket if you have one. You want to do this with me? So I want to illustrate for you what I think was the original robe. Remember Gandhi spinning thread in India to show everybody they didn't have to be dependent upon the British for wealth. they could develop their own wealth. This is part of the revolution in India when they broke away from Britain, Great Britain. So imagine, and my mother was a seamstress, by the way, so I was introduced to sewing. I would sneak into her sewing machine and sew war bonnets and things like that when she wasn't around. And she made a lot of our clothes. I designed clothes in college, and like a poncho, a cool poncho. I was the only one on campus wearing one, and she made them for me. She made dance clothes, dance costumes. My older sister followed in that tradition. She was a ballerina. She went to Las Vegas, became a line broad and a solo dancer. And as she retired out of dancing, she became a seamstress and made costumes, dance costumes. So sewing is a kind of a tradition in our family. Quilts, things of that nature. And imagine what it was like when cloth was first made. They first developed loom and they could weave cloth. You could get rid of the buckskin, you could get rid of the grass skirts, whatever it was you were trying to wear to stay warm. And so I think the first robe was something like this. This was probably the first robe. And you could have something like one of those belts that you would pull around and tie around. Your loincloth, this piece of cloth goes between your legs and comes up here, and another Native American. Another cloth goes around, and you tie it, and this loincloth hangs front and back, right? And that's the way you dressed. That was your basic piece of clothing. So I think the first robe probably looked something like this. And Carolla, the sewing teacher here, will tell you that originally the robe, the top piece was separate from the bottom piece. They made a bottom piece, wrap around and you tie, and you had a top piece. And eventually they learned to sew those together to make what we now look at as the underlying robe. And the Okesa, the most formal robe, is just a big blanket. So you can take this, when you're sitting here and it's cold, we like to not rely so much on the HVAC, is to rely more on your body temperature. If you put one of these on tied around you like so, then you sit very comfortably in Zazen. But I want to show you another aspect of this. It may not have occurred to you. It has to do with bonding, as I'm calling it, but it's more like replicating or reinforcing what the body is already trying to do when you're sitting in Zazen. So, you want to try this, please?
Yes.
Stand up, put it around you like this, and then sit back down so it's under you, like so. Spread it out. If you wear a robe, like I do once in a while for formal reasons, you end up spreading this part out like so. And your teachers will teach you how to handle the robe. And you're not supposed to let it touch the floor. Different kinds of things. You bunch it up around your waist when you sit down and so on. So robe handling 101 is one of the classes you go through in the formal training. So now I'm pulling my legs up onto the blanket. So now you can take this lower corner, lower right-hand corner, upper left-hand corner, roll them together. And these are basically shipping blankets from India. They cost about $5 a piece. And somebody, I think Randy Earl, found these. And he started buying them because they make a nice, inexpensive zabuton. You just fold them up. And then in the wintertime, they become, you can use them as a blanket as well. So you tie that in a knot, okay? Then you take the upper right and the lower left, and you pull it up. And tie it in a knot likewise. You might want to wiggle around to get as much extension as you can. And depending on your size, if you're much bigger than I am, this probably won't work. But if you come to Rohatsu, which is in December, and we sit outside and face the east and look at the morning star, it can get pretty cold out there. So this is a very good device to know that sitting out there, you'll be warm as toast. your body really provides most of your warmth. All this does is insulate you and hold it in. But the other thing that this does, and again, I discovered this myself, I'm not sure, Ian, that you'll find anybody writing about this in any books. And there may be some guy from China who did this, but likely it never got published. And who knows what their fabric was like. We understand the initial fabric's pretty primitive, right? So now if you take these two knots, you hold them together, right? Hold together. And rock back and forth. See what's happening here? It's like a sling. When I rock back, it lifts up on my knees. So my knees are trying to slide away, trying to get loose. So this prevents that from happening. It helps support them, right? So this is like if you were doing this when you were 5 years old, this is the way you do it, right?
Absolutely. That's actually the first thing I thought about. As soon as I wrapped this around me, I thought about my childhood immediately.
Yeah. It's just like
I feel like it's the last time I wrapped myself in a blanket this way.
swaddling clothes. Basically.
Exactly.
Swaddling clothes. So we're in this, and now you can rock around. You can see how it shifts around with you. And look, I can lean back like this. I can lean against it, and I'm not going to fall over. Very, very comfortable. So if this gets to be too much after a while, I can take a break by doing this. So it's like a hammock or a sling. You just put yourself in a sling. So if you look at this, if you think about the obi, or the long strip, you see it coming over the shoulder the same way, wrapping around the same way, tying in the middle. So this is a kind of a lesson in design and kind of a lesson in ergonomics. Ergonomics means design to fit the human body. So like an ergonomic chair, like the chair in the corner of this is called an ergonomic chair, because it's kneeling, but it's kneeling in such a way that you sit on the bench, and it's designed to fit your body. So simpler versions of this, and I encourage you, and especially Daniel, those of us who are here first thing in the morning, we have 6 to 7 meditation every morning, Monday through Friday. And I think, Daniel, you open up on Saturdays and Sundays as well, typically.
Not always there, but I can. Yeah.
Not necessary. So if you come in and said, I prefer that we leave the HVAC off, for the simple reason that it's pretty noisy. And if you get used to sitting without it, it's extremely quiet here in the morning. But we light just the candles. So it's very much closer. By the way, if you do this kind of leafing thing, we have more than one layer, then you could tuck your feet under, and the zabuton can become the cushion between the legs. And that can also be quite comfortable.
Putting something between the ankles might be called for. Sometimes the bones of my feet rub against each other.
Yeah. So if you find a very thin zabuton, the one you're on there should work. Uncross your legs again, cross them again, but this time tuck your bottom foot under that zabuton. Try it.
I spent so long getting bound up, I kind of want to stay with it.
All right. Next time, try it. So, but if you do nothing more than, and it's cold, right? We're sitting in the cold, you're not turning the furnace on, and we're waiting. And by the way, in, what's it called? Ehe Koroku. Ehe Koroku means Dogen's extensive record. Dogen's extensive record is a tome. It's like bigger than the Bible. These are all the spontaneous talks he gave at ASZC, and other people would write them down. And he mentions in there twice a year the opening of the furnace. They have a celebration, they have a ceremony. They open the furnace in the fall. And then in the spring, the closing of the furnace. So whatever the furnace is, I don't know. But, you know, I've been to ASZC, but nobody ever showed me what used to be the furnace, if there was one. But I imagine it's some kind of a fireplace or stove or something. In the Zindo, it was really cold, in the winter there. AHG is just south of Nagano. You go up the mountain to Nagano. AHG is very far north in Japan, Fukui Prefecture. And when I was there in November 1989, I've been back since, but they were bringing out these huge bamboo screens. It's just bamboo poles tied together and running them all along the covered walks between the buildings because the snow was coming. When the snow comes, it would just inundate everything. So they put these huge bamboo screens up. They had to be like, 12, 15 feet long, and bamboo after bamboo that they roll out. That would catch the snow and hold the snow off the walkway so you could still get through the walkways. So it had to be very, very cold. And when they opened the furnace, it must have been that a wood furnace of some kind, a wood stove or something, I don't know what. It was a big ceremony. So if you do nothing more than take something like this and put it over your knees, wrap it around, tuck it under, and it starts to give a little bit of that resistance. You know what a sled looks like, right? I was thinking of Charles Ames, his wife, were both very famous designers. He did all the bent plywood furniture. Some of you may be familiar with that. The early chairs, that beautiful chairs that he designed. So I started working towards this design. But if you imagine a piece of bent plywood that comes up like this and then slopes like that, and then this side bends up. And you sit on that and you sort of slide down until your knees rest against that part bending up here. So it stops, right? You have a stop, catches your knees. Then you could have one side higher than the other, so you could flip it over. It was too high, right? And it would work either side. Well, if you think of something like that, just something retaining your knees, just catching, right? You could sit close enough to the wall that your knees were against the wall, but then the wall would be a little too close to your face. But if you just do something like this, where you pull it around, tuck it under, the space between your thighs and the cushion, you can fill in with this part of the blanket. So it's a little more like sitting on the beach where the sand would fill in everything, right? And Randy says when he's hiking, he goes out in the winter a lot, in snow. He'll find a bank of snow and he'll just sort of settle himself into the snow. Snow comes up and supports all the surface. I think part of the problem in pain management for lungs, and especially for men, because compared to women or compared to people in India, China, Japan, countries of origin, we have very large thighs. We have very large legs, very muscular legs. And so if you're perched on your cushion or a bench and your knees are here, then the weight of the thighs is about, 10 pounds apiece, maybe 15 pounds apiece. That's all pushing down on those joints. It's all pressing down on those joints. If you fill in this space here, then it's no longer pressing down. It's equally balanced. I think if you just see with that as an idea, that's why I was showing you the slope, tiered slope. Level A, high, that's where your butt sits. Next level down your thighs, next level down your knees. Like sand on the beach or snow in a snowbank. I think that's kind of what we're trying to approximate with our equipment. I've tried to improve on the design of the software. I've made a square one, for instance, easier to sew, but you turn it on a 45-degree angle so the point is pointing forward, and then it allows your legs to drop. But it's not really a big improvement over this. I suspect that maybe Dogen brought this back from China. He said he wore out 3 cushions in China. They were handmade, of course. And he ended up sitting on a stone when he was in China. He was there for a couple of years. So first Thursday is usually about posture, and I'm obviously branching out. Starting with posture, how do you support your posture? What do you do Do you take a strict attitude that I must sit like this, I must sit, no matter what the agony is, macho zen, you know? It's not an endurance contest. It's not about that. Be the comfortable way. So what do I do to make it ultimately comfortable, where it's just wonderful for me to sit this way? And these are some of the techniques I've come up with over the years. Next week, we're going to breathing. Follow wake attention. So you want to take a little break and do a little actual sitting facing the wall? Okay, let's do it. And do something to, to augment your sitting. Make an adjustment to your gear. Figure out, experiment with something. Wrap the blanket around you, tie it in a knot. Whatever makes sense to you. It's almost 8, so we won't sit for a very long time. We'll sit for thinking that
I'm gonna crawl. My legs are falling asleep.
well, they say there are three barriers in practice. The first is pain or the resistance of the body. Once you overcome pain, the next barrier is sleep. I don't know what the third barrier is. Yeah, no doubt. Wait. It's ready to bring down these to the minimum. So this would be Master Dogen's sit facing the wall. So usual, run a joint well again. Take some time to set yourself up, get your gear in place, strap on your belt, whatever it is that you want to try. Ian doesn't want to move.
I really can't. I'd have to do it all over again.
Does anyone want to try does somebody have the hand cushion?
Here.
Oh, yeah. Does somebody want to strap that around them?
I'll do it on my back, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll try that.
I'll hold it here while you put the belt on. Yeah, sure. And then as we're doing this, it's only 15 minutes. But if you feel the need to adjust and try something a little different, don't be shy. Just go ahead and shift gears and try it. Eventually, and I say this with every posture class, give yourself permission to move. Keep doing the rocking motion left and right, forward and back. If you say, I can't move, I have to sit still, you're forcing yourself into an unnatural position where even though you're having a lot of pain in your right leg, you're going to grin and bear it because you're not supposed to move. That's BS. Just give yourself permission to move. And that way you have the opportunity to find out why we don't. If you don't give yourself permission to move, you may never find out why we don't. So in some cases, I recommend keep moving for the whole half hour, for the whole period. Don't sit still. Sitting still is, in a sense, a delusion. Mokurai means stillness in motion, motion in stillness. Stillness is in the motion. The motion is in the stillness. So we sit relatively still, but we don't make an obsessive, compulsive thing about it. State behavior. Logan said, keep your place of meditation bright. But bright in those days, it's not fluorescent lighting. Bright was oil lamp. I assume whale oil, I'm not quite sure, but be very steady, about candlelight level. This is a little bright. I don't know. Start to get down a little bit more. If you come sit with us in the morning, you're going to see there's not an expression. The darkest night is perfectly clear. In the light of dawn, it is hidden. We start at 6 o'clock, it's very dark. By 7 o'clock, we begin to become daylight. You just relax your legs. After you untie them, you can deep breath. You're able to move your joints. Gong is still buzzing. Actually, it's never quiet. If you sit there, you lean over close to it, you can hear it resonate
like a conch shell.
all the time. You know,
Wow.
all the time. If the walls are paper thin, it's extremely fragile. If you drop it, it'll crack and it won't make any noise anymore. It won't make a sound. So that's a little bit of a gonzo approach to posture. I encourage you to be creative that way. I think that's the best posture I've ever seen you have, Ian. Tonight, you're usually a little bit leaning forward.
Yeah.
So whatever adjustment you made to help you.
Yes, I noticed.
Also, as you said, when your posture is approaching perfection, it will feel as if you're shoving your head against the ceiling, like that column supporting the ceiling. You can feel pressure here. I think it's actually your spine and skull are being pushed up so much they're actually stretching against the scalp. So there is actual a sense of pressure there. It feels extremely stable, solid. It's a wonderful feeling. But a little bit of bondage can help. Now imagine, let me have one of the long whites. For instance, another variation. Like some of us have scoliosis, some of us have what's called osteoarthritis, different kinds of arthritis setting. Right? And we have a resident who has a major problem in that. I built a little device, which is a pegboard, and it has shelf brackets sticking out of it. You can adjust, and they're wrapped with foam, like a crutch. You can adjust them up and down. You can hang your arms over that. It picks up a lot of the upper weight of the upper body. Another device we did with him was experimented. He imagine this tied to or hooked to a peg, right? Somewhere on the wall. And you bring these under your arms, and come on, clean like cloth. Bring them under your arms. It's up there, right? And you tie across here. So it is tied to it'll pull you up more and more because it's tied to a peg. So it starts lifting this part of your body off of your spine. So the lower part of the body, the lower spine, doesn't take all the weight. Another simple one would be with the back pad. This could be, you don't have to have it, but it could be back there, is that you spread it this way. These are long enough, actually, for this one. A little variation on the same theme. Now I'm taking up the slack on my legs. And this goes around. That's what I tell it's going to work. It's going to go all the way around. Couldn't remember how long these are, but. And you could go double if you wanted to. But. So this one is not only keeping my legs together, but it's pulling them toward my back. So that you can see where it's putting the pressure here, putting the pressure here. So now I've unified the legs and the back. And I don't have to make any effort at all in that regard, trying to hold that together. They tie it off. You can sit find your bliss for hours. No problem. Others, if you can find a way to make the knot end up here in your lap, this is like origami, isn't it? A little bit like what the Boy Scout knot tying. Right? So for example, if you can make the knot end up in your lap there where it's your support for your hands, or you can even hold it, as I said, like the reins of a horse. And as far as I know, I could even do that and go around, come back around, tie it here, but I'm going to just do a simple version like this. Square knot, left hand over and under, right hand over and under. And then the pressure you put on the knot increases the tension. Or, if you adjust it out further out, that's going to increase the tension and support. What do you think? You didn't expect this. You're new. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How'd you find us?
I'm brand new to meditation, and I'm looking for meditation, and you're a great location. A friend of mine has been here. Recommend.
Well, welcome. I'm glad you came. Rebecca Rosen. There was a senator, Rosen, just ripped somebody a new one on. Did you see that?
Jackie Rosen?
Yeah.
No
I
relation.
was thinking, if she's related to her, I'm a little bit intimidated.
Nope, no. Too bad.
So let's go down the line. Any comments or questions tonight?
Thank you. I know I wanted to come on a Wednesday, but the Wednesdays haven't been working time-wise. And
We have first and third, we've been struggling with staffing every Wednesday. And we're not sure that we're just spreading the same people across,
yeah,
too many
I
options.
understand. Those just happen to be times I could not make. But I am on furlough right now for the government. So
What do you do for work?
National Institutes of Health. NIH, the National Institutes of Health.
Parks?
No, health.
Oh, hell, wonderful. NIH.
Remote. But
Zen needs you. We need you.
we do. We have a small studies on this. And
Listen, if you ever want to do a special session over there, I'll be happy to come over and do a session there and bring them here. Invite a friend also means colleagues.
But if you were postponing showing up on Sunday until you had a Wednesday class, I think you could come on Sunday
You
anyway.
can come on Sunday.
well, I was afraid, honestly, to come today. But I did it anyway. Yeah. And so I was hoping, as you were watching, that I thought I might fall back. I'm glad I did not.
It's a little intimidating at first.
It's okay.
But the Zen is intimidating, really. I mean, it should be. There's no reason to be intimidated, really. It's a returning to the natural posture, the natural breath, natural frame of mind. So, Daniel, we have more of these in the HVAC area in the bamboo rack. They're on the bottom shelf.
Okay.
So I'd ask you and Niall and Ian, whoever, to bring them out and put them out and just, roll them up like this and space them around the Zendo.
Great.
So that people can access them as it gets colder. It's supposed to get cold next week, 40s, 30s maybe. And, we probably should do more showing people how to use them, but if you just drape them around you, keep your knees warm. The lower part of the body from the belly button down is like sitting in a sea of hot water. Everything becomes extremely hot. And that heat builds and builds until it burns out the resistance in the body. from the belly button up, it's cooler and cooler. It's like the mountain rising above the ocean. Here it's very cool, but down here it's very hot. This reinforces that. If you have pain in your legs and knees, you'll know, if you feel them, you notice they're cold. If you had knee warmers, you put knee warmers on them, you'd be fine. In Japan, the first time in 1989 again, we were at AHG, and two Japanese gentlemen were there, an older one, a younger one, training with us. It was two Americans, two Japanese, and then the monks, of course. And so afterwards, the older guy invited us to their home compound, where they had more than one home inside a wall. Their grandparents lived there, and they lived there. The koi pond, all the usual kind of wonderful things about Japanese life. In Nagano, as I said, is just up the mountain. And it was cold, November. And when we were first there, we had tea or supper or something, and they had us sit around a table called a kohatsu. Kohatsu is a low table. Most of the Japanese have floor furniture. You sit on the floor. Up and down. Sure, I think it's healthier for us if we do that. And the kohatsu is a round table. It has a big quilt on it, kind of like an industrial quilt. You could say like a shipping quilt. But I can't remember exactly what it was like. And then there's a glass top on top of that. Under the table, in the middle of the table, is this thing hanging down that used to burn charcoal, and now it's electrical, of course. So you scoot up to the table, you put the blanket over yourself, and you're sitting at the table on the floor. Our knees are killing us, but your knees are right next to the heat, and the heat is hitting your knees. Perfect.
Let's see.
Kohatsu. So if your knees are warm, you're going to be much more comfortable. So if you get some knee warmers or hand warmers or whatever, especially in winter, and it will, the meniscus or whatever, the hard tissue here needs that heat to stretch and relax. That's the main source of, and this ropey muscle along the side here, of course, is attached to that. So, Savannah.
Oh, yeah, this has been great. Thank you. I feel like I've never been flexible, so I'm really working with this. And honestly, until I started trying to do Zazen, I never even sat cross-legged really. Like it's always been a stretch for me.
It's not natural for Westerners.
Yeah, and I also have back issues and posture issues. So this, just doing this in general has been helping that, which is a nice side effect.
You belong to a Y or a gym?
No.
I'd recommend joining a Y and getting in a whirlpool.
Okay.
Put the whirlpool, the jets on all the joints that are having problems.
Yeah. Okay.
It's amazing.
Gotcha. Yeah, but, I mean, this seems like it would be helpful.
Yeah.
Especially just giving myself more support, especially.
We're going to start a yoga class on Thursday nights. I decided that 4 Thursdays a night or 5 Thursdays a month for me to do this is a little much, especially after you've been through it a few times. So shrinking my Thursday down to 1 Thursday a night, maybe first Thursday, 1 Thursday a month. And Daniel wants to do music 1 Thursday a month, kind of an in-house jam. This is Daniel. He's a jazz guitarist and a wonderful player. And he hates compliments. But we've always, I come from a jazz family. My dad had a jazz band in the 40s and 50s. My brother was a jazz pianist his whole life. The music and art, to me, are all part of Zen, and a Zen center, and particularly urban Zen center, I think, should be a cultural center. So we have music, we have art, we have writing workshops, we have creativity workshops, and so forth. So another Thursday will be a yoga class. And he's a new guy, joined us, Dan, I think was his name. And he's interested in doing it. And when Harrison was here, he did a yoga class. And I asked him to design a yoga class that would be like 10 asanas, yin yoga, stretching, all the right things to do before you sit. And the 10th posture, asana, would be zazen. So the yoga class would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, sit.
That would be great. Absolutely.
The stretching is important. Even the prostrations we do You see us doing those formal prostrations. They bend all the right joints, work all the right muscles and things. Kinhin done properly, and we'll get into Kinhin fourth week, stretches all the right muscles and help to work all the right parts of the body that prepare you for the sitting stools. That's it. Up to the right place.
Yeah, thank you.
Daniel.
Wrapping in that blanket like that reminded me of being a kid for sure.
Yeah.
It's kind of comfortable. It kind of takes you back, and it makes in, I think, what it really is.
Yeah, but it did get really hot. Those blankets are pretty.
But just sit outdoors.
Yeah. Yeah.
No balance out.
But it's comfortable. I just got really sleepy.
The
I'm
yogis,
so sleepy actually. From
the
that.
sort of Gonzo yogis in Tibet, they do this thing where they, in yoga, pranayama, breath control, if you hold one nostril and inhale through this one, exhale through that one, inhale through this one, exhale through that one. Going one way builds your body heat up. Going the other way cools it down, they claim. And they demonstrated this. This is Tibet. That's not India, from what I remember a long time ago. In the middle of winter, they took ice, wet sheets, threw them over them, and they sat there and thawed the sheet out with their body heat. Steaming, But yeah, you become very hot. You become very stoked, hot. Matsuoka said, Zazen looks like a mountain, but actually it's a volcano. Caldera is building. Power, hara, stomach power. He, life force. Kaho, what's up?
The belt is helpful. I was skeptical before, but it's definitely something to be explored some more.
Yeah, it's just a small touch. It's actually what happens with your clothing. A robe, if you adjust it in a certain way, it drapes. It kind of feels like it's holding you to the ground. And you don't want it to be too stretchy or too wrinkled, but it just feels like it's balancing out the tetrahedron, 1, 2, 3, 4. The reason we don't brace ourselves is we close the tetrahedron. Then the core muscles don't have to do anything. When we don't brace ourselves, all of a sudden these muscles have to take up the slack and hold you up. Sensei described it as fists coming up from each leg, pulling you forward. And the strength here. Hara, stomach power. If we brace ourselves, like you see people say, if you brace yourself, when you close the tetrahedron, then there's no need for any engagement. But if you don't brace yourself, all of a sudden these muscles have to pull you erect, right? It's like a curl. It's like a fist squeezing. Cyrus.
I'll say, yeah, the belt, I thought it was a stabilizer. So I think I also will explore it more.
Good way to think of it. So take one home with you. Like, bring it back. I don't really need them. I mean, I don't use these. These are.
You don't need to tie me up to take it home.
This is a long one.
I'd like the long one if you're good with it.
There may be two short ones. I think I cut one in half. But for instance, if, like I said before, the reins of the horses, you could do something like this. He's a horse, right? We'll do walking meditation. We'll do the 8 tandens, which give you a little. This has an effect of like putting your attention somewhere else in the body, right? And we'll do the 8 points in the tanden, going through the breathing exercise. You put your attention somewhere else in the body. As you're, especially walking, when you're walking, you begin to feel gravity differently. This is, I think there may be another one. Is this the only one? This may be the only one. Okay, this is for you, Ian. Consequences, sometimes positive. And this one can be tied together with that one. The other one, the short one, the one,
All right.
either way. That's probably longer.
Okay.
You're smaller than I am. Don't hang
Almost
yourself, okay? If you were in prison, they wouldn't let you have that. We had a disciple in prison one time. I couldn't believe it. The ASZC that you give first initiation, you can hang yourself with that. Somehow they allowed it. Okay, no more questions? Next time.